industry forward, doing good business, doing things the right way. We all have an artistic side to us as well and a creative side. And that's why a big part of Nimbus is the creative aspect.
Hey everyone, welcome to Cannacribs Deep Roots. I'm Autumn Carsey, President and CEO of Alchemy 29 and Cultivo Inc. Today we're at the Nimbus facility in Sacramento, California. They use 100% sustainable energy on their indoor cultivation facility. We're standing in about 9,000 square feet. They use a 2-tiered double racking system with LED lights and a lot of really cool technology. Let's go check it out.
So Autumn, so good to see you. Welcome into one of our rooms that's in veg right now. So we don't have a dedicated veg space in our facility. Every flower room starts as a veg room. And so we keep the photo period, vegetative so that the plants move as little as possible in our process. We want to let the roots establish. And the great thing about our rock wool medium is that we can saturate them with enough water where we don't have to water them for, up to 3 weeks sometimes while they veg. And then they get to this nice place where then, the roots are coming out the bottom, and right when they could start to mix with their neighbors, we'll separate them so that they don't, and that we have a nice even growth, not getting in the way of their neighbor getting in light. Then we'll start using our gavitas to supplement as well. We have 2 lights in here. We've got our vegetative light. So this light we move around, which is basically what makes it a veg room for that period of time.
What model Gavita are you using in here?
So these are the 1700Es.
Mm-hmm.
We have had, a great experience with them. Being able to have something that, we can just swap out really quickly is really important to us. And they have a 5-year warranty on them. So those that have failed, we pop in a new one and they're good to go. And, for the hundreds that we have, we've only had a few fails since we started here. So we're happy that we can take advantage of them because we're so tight on power here. So having being able to,
you guys really maxed out exactly what you could do with this building with the power that you had while double stacking the system. And that wasn't the initial intention for the building. So you guys have done a great job kind of walking that line and balancing where you need to allocate your power. And where do you like your PPFD in veg?
So in veg, these plants start around 125 to 130. We up that a little bit. We'll try and, get up to 145, but we keep them like that for a little bit to get them acclimated to their new bigger substrate here.
So you set them right in the 6-inch cubes.
We just set them right in. We don't do a process where they become teens or anything like that. We very quickly ramp them up to the 400s. They'll get 12 hours of the gavitas a day. If it's getting 140 ppfd for half the day and then it's getting 400 for another part of the day, that's totally fine for its photo cycle. It's not going to mess it up or anything.
So you guys veg in place in here and then you run everything all the way through flowers. So there's no transition, there's no moving plants.
We minimize the movement. So we, come in initially, we let these plants stay in here, these cubes. We'll keep that water content in them for quite a while. Once they start to dry out, we will stake them and spread them. By the time they're that perfect height to flip to flower, we then move them up top, and every plant gets 2 staked. So on top and bottom, we get to have that distinct watering zone based on where they are in the room. The Botanicare trays are what allow us to, capture all that runoff water and just, pump it back up into our system over to our reclamate tank.
Sure.
And they're great for drainage. They're good for the space that we have. They have a nice slant, so they're easy to clean. They're definitely not, the old school trays.
You have to lift them and turn them. And so, yeah, you have the Botanicare trays. I've used Botanicare for many, many years. They're fantastic tray. And they fit perfectly in these Space Saver racks, which are very convenient.
So Space Saver racks are all over, and they're an older company, so they have a lot of experience building racks for libraries and huge storage places. So when we found out they were making these, they're really well built. They're really resistant to rusting out. We haven't had any problems with the rails. I think the rails are made of aluminum, so they're super sturdy. There's just a lot of benefits. I mean, and saving the space was so key. We're all often really limited to where we can have an indoor grow facility. So going up always makes a lot of sense because we effectively double our canopy. It's been amazing to see just how maximized we've gotten with this space.
It's great, especially for a facility of this size to go double tier. If you have the square footage and you have, cheap lease rates, all these factors play into decisions like this. And so I would have made this exact decision for a facility this size. It makes all the sense in the world. So where are we off to next?
I think we're off to show you. We're going to show you early flower and then late flower.
Great, let's do it.
This is Kevin Brooks. Conception is our nursery partner that does tissue culture. We're happy to be on their menu. Conception, I think, respects breeders' rights in a way that we really appreciate.
As far as we know, we're the only ones in cannabis that offer these hermetically sealed packs, and it's how we can guarantee our plants are pest and disease free. The groups that will succeed in the future are the ones that understand the power of data. And for us, R&D is a big part of what we do. Right? R&D is extraordinarily expensive. It requires a lot of upfront capital. And in an industry where capital is constrained, being able to pull data is very hard and very expensive, and there's no guarantee that it will result in anything meaningful. Having partners like Joe and Nimbus and the team that's able to provide us data on our cultivars and how they perform is invaluable for us and the industry and the rest of our customer base. As a grower, we want to continue to supply, clean, healthy, vigorous clones. We want to be that base of the supply chain that is reliable and that we will deliver. I think as a breeder, we want to continue to encourage you to work with other breeders to create more pieces of art, right, that we get to share with the rest of the industry.
All right, so this is flower room 5. Explain to me a little bit about the process of designing this room.
So these rooms were slated for 24 HPS fixtures. So they're tiny rooms. And we went vertical. We took that 24 and we made it 64. They were going to use the hallways as the dry room.
The hallways is the dry room.
Hallways as the dry room. We maximized the space. We saw how many of these racks we could get in here while still abiding by all the codes and still having room in the aisles. And instead of 24, now we have 64 LED fixtures with roughly the same footprint we would have with an HPS. And it's double decker. So we're ensuring, at least 4 pounds in the same square footage that we would have had one HPS fixture.
And how many varieties do you have running in this room?
In this particular room, we have 4. Right behind me is the Nimbus, one of our proprietary strains. We've got a Kush Mints and we crossed it with the GSC that we had back crossed to the Durban Poison. When we got the original Durban, we decided there's something missing from GSC and we wanted to stabilize it because it has a tendency to kind of hermia and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did that, selected a male, and then crossed it with another hype Kush Mint strain at the time.
So bring back a little the old school with the new. I like it.
So it has that Durban, almost train wreck nose to it.
Yeah.
Citrusy, but it's earthy and has that weird gassy nose to it. And it's way more terp forward than a traditional GSC, but maintained all the dense structure and the bract and nodal spacing seems relatively consistent with what you'd find on a GSC. But when we're breeding, we're trying to kind of bring back these strains that it seems like everyone's just looking to Instagram or whatever to tell them what to smoke.
I see you guys have these really cool air distribution channels through the top of your LED lights. What are you using here to distribute that air?
We use just inline booster fans essentially, and they just distribute down into 2 different ducts that run the entire length of the racks and then distribute air right over the canopy. So we don't have to worry about oscillating fans within the framework of these racks.
Do you have Quest units in here?
Yeah, we have a 506, Quest 506, and we have 2, I think they're the 174 pint mobiles. And on the sidewall up on the attic, we have a 335. which is one of the newer models.
Okay.
We didn't have space in room and we didn't have the power in the room.
Yeah.
So we were able to run a circuit off of a secondary panel and install it upstairs that's just ducted in as a AC would be. This is the Prism. This is one of our proprietary genetics. She's a perfect hybrid of sativa indica, right down the middle. We cross an old school purple haze cut with a landrace tie cut. At Nimbus, we liken the Prism to a choose your own adventure story. You get to dictate the outcome. You could go on a hike, or you can hit the gym, or you can sit on the couch and watch your favorite show. It tests high in osamine, which is a very rare terpene found in cannabis. It tests between 25 to 29% THC. We yield about 2 to 2.5 pounds per fixture, depending on the space between the light and the plant. So this one, I'm especially excited for all of y'all to try. We only have about 24 lights of this right now, but we hope to be doing entire rooms of this strain.
Our cannacribs team tours some of the best cannabis cultivation facilities in the world, learning the best products, techniques, and methodologies. Did you also know that we help design and build the most productive commercial cannabis facilities? If you need help building, retrofitting, or optimizing your operation, fill out the form in the description below to work with the world-class professionals and scientists at Cannacribs Consulting, bringing you the best practices of the most renowned farms.
So we are standing in your fertigation room, and I understand you plumbed every piece of equipment in this entire facility.
It was a lot. It
Yeah.
was a lot more than we anticipated taking on. It wasn't about cutting corners. It was about making sure it was done to our specs and coming in under budget. That was
Yeah.
the most important thing.
It looks professional. I mean, I know a lot of professional commercial grade plumbers, and the system looks great.
We worked with Hawthorne and Dosatron on setting up our recipe system. Shay was just a phone call away. We were able to reach him, any questions we had. You know, in the past, we were hand mixing every reservoir. We were doing reservoirs in the room, outside the room. That was every day. That was something we had to do every day. And the Dosatron system does all that labor for us. It cuts out the entire process of that. I don't have to hire someone to go around and mix every reservoir independently for each room.
And one thing I love about the Dosatron system is that it's so easy that you can teach anyone to use it. And I've put in every type of complicated irrigation system under the sun. And sometimes they're so complex that they're not user friendly. And that can create huge problems if, you know, the person that's in charge of it leaves, goes to another job, something happens. So I like a system that I can teach anyone to use. So you've got 6 200-gallon tanks in this room. Where do they go from here?
We have 6 identically designed rooms as well. Each one is designated to each room, and each room has 3 zones of irrigation. That way, depending on what cultivar is in what zone, we can tailor mix the reservoir to that zone. We have the sensors on each tank, and there's the Blue Lab Guardians as well that will tell us on the irrigation system. We'll get alerts on the phone or on the tablet, and so we're able to adjust it before.
What do you do to kind of clean your lines and flush everything out at the end of a cycle?
Right now, we're running UC Roots, hypochlorous acid, as the main line cleaner. In addition to that, we'll use just an irrigation line cleaner or hydrogen peroxide. But for the most part, running the Flora Pro line keeps the lines clean.
And what do you like about the general hydroponic nutrients for the facility in particular?
The consistency across the board. Our foundational nutrients are the Flora Pro series. It's the commercial series of what you would normally find the liquid series at your hydro store. It's the dry powder salts. Comes in a 25-pound bag and super easy to mix. We use those as the foundation, and then we add Cali Magic and another input like Floralicious for, you know, aggressive vegetative growth. And then we'll also use some powder cool bloom or liquid cool bloom in addition in the later part of the flowering cycle to increase the density and terpene profiles and bud swell to get like those nice, big, beautiful buds. And sometimes we get a little more color in the flower structure than we normally would if we didn't introduce those. I'm Joshua with Nimbus with the pro tip of the day. We use Dosatron for all three of our recipes. We got veg, we got early bloom, and we got late bloom. Now, what we do a little different here is we use a holding tank after the Dosatron to ensure that if one of these stock tanks deplete, that there's a control before it reaches the plants. So it's just adding that redundancy. It's something we learned from Hawthorne. You want to put all those blockades in so that it never gets that point where it's like a critical failure. So Dosatron recipes to the stock tank and then into the plants.
So we are here in your drawing room. I wish our viewers could smell this place because it smells absolutely incredible. Tell me about your environment and how you run your dry cure process.
So we keep it an even 60 degrees, 60% humidity for at least 14 days. And then it gets bucked down into perforated trays and they nest on top of each other and spend another 5 to sometimes 8 or 10 days in that stage before ever getting handled by the trimmers.
And how much cannabis can you fit in this room?
Our max we've reached is 130, I would say. We could probably squeeze a little more in, but you really need that airflow and the space for it to cure properly.
And what do you use for your dehumidification?
We're running Quest in here, just like all our other rooms. Those things are workhorses. We change the filters out and, you know, we have to flush the line here and there, but
They're bulletproof. I've run Quests for years and years and I wouldn't go anywhere else. So what's your process before getting it into this room?
So the team gets in the room that we're harvesting. They set up little harvest stations and one plant at a time gets chopped down. We remove all the large water leaves, fan leaves, and hang it on these metal wire hangers, attach its individual plant ID tag, and then it comes into the metric hallway. It's weighed and then replaced on the rack. And then the rack comes here, has a little barcode tag, so we know exactly where it came from in the room, what plants are on it, and then it never leaves its little parking spot until it's ready to be cured and trimmed.
And how many people does it take to take down a room and how fast do you set it back up again for the next run?
The reset is quicker than the harvest. I think that's one of the things we do different. We focus on one zone in the room at a time and harvest it one plant at a time. Each harvester gets a plant to work on and then they go for another. It's not 10 at a time. We don't throw it in a bin. We treat that plant with the most respect so that all the way through from seed to smoke, it's like perfect.
How do you like to trim your plants once they come out of your curing space?
We prefer that no hand is touching the flowers. We want to maintain the integrity of the structure of the flower.
Like a telepathy method that you use or
We're like, don't touch it.
fall off?
The plant leaves this stage, it goes into our cure trays, which once it's bucked to this stage, the trimmer receives it like this, keeps it like this, and then trims it while handling stem and only the stem.
What kind of varieties do you guys have drying in here right now?
We have 4 different cultivars in here right now. This is our prism. It's not as stunning once it's off the vine and hanging, but once it gets trimmed up, you'll see her beauty again.
All right, so we're going to go talk to Ari now and the rest of your team and talk about your future expansion.
Absolutely.
One of the most common feedbacks we get from our employees when they first start is that they used to dread the job that they went into before. And one of the most consistent feedbacks we've heard from almost everyone is that they come here and they look forward to coming into work. For us, it's about a number of benefits. So in terms of medical benefits, we do medical, vision, life, dental, and We provide that for, our full-time employees. We go above and beyond, and we actually pay up to 95% of all those medical benefits. That's one of the things that we do to instill and show, our employees and the team that we really care about them. This whole business, everything we've accomplished can only be done through a team. So we make sure to constantly, not only through praise or words, but through actions, show them, that we value them. So the medical benefits is one thing. We also do a 401k where we match 100% up to 5%. We also do a profit sharing at the end of the year with the employees, which is something we're really proud of. It's an equal percentage divvied out to all the staff. Our cultivation lead gets the same as, our base cultivator. And part of that's because it takes a team to make this work. Most of our tasks are collaborative and team-based. They're working in small groups between, usually 2 and 4 team members. And, our motto is always, if you finished your section, go and help out the other people who haven't finished their section. It's not just an I kind of thing. It's a we thing. So we're all in this together, and it takes, everybody putting in their best to really succeed. We're behind what's best for the individual. Not always be what's best for us, but that's kind of the commitment we make when we hire someone, is that we're in this together at this point, and we want to support them, from the beginning until the end.
Hey, Ari. Well, thank you for having us in your facility today. You guys have done an amazing job with the place. And I'm always curious to hear people's backstories and how they got started in this industry. So what is your professional background?
My professional background is in operations.
Mhm.
Before doing this, I was an operation manager for Amazon.
Oh,
one
wow.
of the fulfillment centers.
Big operation.
Yeah, during peak times, I'd have maybe up to close to 500 direct reports.
Wow. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Thankfully, we have robotics now. So previously at Amazon, people had to manually walk in, entire football length distances to find products.
Mhm.
Thankfully, the facility I worked at did have robotics. So it was a lot less strenuous, on the individual.
The nightmare that is metric and the logistics that goes into running a legal complete cannabis operation. I know companies like Amazon have that technology where you can literally scan entire pallets of things and every SKU will just go into the system. Do you think we'll see that in the future when we're able to cross state lines and even to different countries, that kind of technology will be implemented?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, that is going to be the end goal.
Mhm.
But I still don't want to get lost, lose the human element of it as well.
I would like to see robots packing boxes at a large scale. I don't want to see them managing my plants.
Exactly, right, exactly.
Okay, so you're at Amazon with 500 direct reports. How did you end up here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I learned a lot from Amazon, a lot of really important things that have led me, to where I am today. A part of it was knowing, what I wanted and what I didn't want,
Mhm.
that led me, off that original path. I ended up meeting Josh, and we started working together, and he was already in the industry. I learned a lot from him and the things he lacked in terms of scaling a business, building a business, operational efficiency. That's where my strengths were. And as well with Joe, where me or Josh lacks,
Mhm.
Joe, that may be where his strength is. So it's really about valuing diversity in a team and having understanding and being able to work with different people's strengths and weaknesses.
So how did you guys come up with the name Nimbus and what does it mean to you?
How we came up with it was, so the cumulonimbus is a cloud, basically a rain cloud, which to us signifies, the importance of water for the plants. It's a big part of the ecosystem, obviously. Now, the beauty of the name for us is also its variability. For another person, Nimbus could mean a cloud from Goku. I don't know if you're familiar with Goku. It's called a Dragon Ball. It's an anime, but he has a little cloud that he flies around on, and the cloud is named Nimbus. And then there's Harry Potter fans, his broom that he rides, the Quidditch broom, which is the Nimbus 2000. There's a reference and a meaning almost for everyone. And the other piece too, we have the Nimbus Dam nearby, actually. Through a partnership with our local municipality and utility provider, we pay extra for our energy, but they ensure that 100% of our energy that they provide us to power the facility is carbon free. That's another
Great.
really cool aspect for us, is that it's something local to Sacramento as well.
Tell me a little bit about how you guys collaborate to come up with the branding and marketing for Nimbus.
For us, we've done most of that work in-house.
Mhm.
So as you know, Josh, is very artistic.
I don't want to just paint in one style or one application method. I want to experiment with those different textures just as much as like shape and shadow and light and color.
And we all have, an artistic side to us as well, and a creative side. And that's why a big part of Nimbus is, the creative aspect.
So what is the future of Nimbus and where do you see it going from here?
So yeah, the future of Nimbus, I think it's bright. So we're actually looking at expanding into another facility. The facility we're looking to expand in is just over 9,000 square feet. So it's going to roughly double the production we're doing now. Nimbus as a brand is just getting started as well. We've barely gotten into any store so far. Really, we're in 2 stores, but that's just getting started.
And so you're mostly white labeling now, and your product ends up in other very popular brands. Nimbus is your baby, and this is what you want to take forward into the market and really put your own signature on what you are growing, which is great. Where would you like to see the brand 5 years from now?
So currently, as you mentioned, we do about, 95% of our business is wholesale, still B2B. As you mentioned, white label, which, we grow it, they buy it and they put it in their jars. But as far as the consumer is concerned, it's grown by the brand they're purchasing. I'd love to say that 70% of what we grow goes into our own jars, or 100%. We hope to get there one day, and we're excited about what the future holds.
Well, I look forward to seeing what's next for you guys, and I want to come back when you expand and look at the new facility and see all of the new upgrades and bells and whistles.
Yeah, we'd love to have you by.
Diggity farm.
Diggity farms. Yeah, dang, you got me with that one. And then I said it again. Yeah.